Welcome to Lake Harriet Spiritual Community, a Center for Conscious Living. Thank you for being here, and thank you also to those that are inviting us into your living room today. We're Lake Harriet Spiritual Community. We're a Center for Conscious Living, and we honor all spiritual paths. So, we have a theme every month, probably our of the theme, and today it is practicing compassion. Today is our movement and meditation service. So I'm going to be speaking on our topic for a few minutes, about 8 minutes or so, and then we're going to get up and do a little bit of movement. I mostly do Qigong types of movements, just to move around the energy and sort of help the message stick even further. And then more speaking on the topic, more movement, more speaking on the topic, movement, and then meditation, okay? So I won't let you sit for too long, okay? So, compassion. We've heard about compassion. We pretty much know the definition of compassion, but as we know, it is a deep understanding, okay? It's different than empathy. It's different from sympathy. It's a deep understanding, and we're actively engaged in it. And it's rational. It's kind of like brotherly love, okay? It's not, we don't get overly caught into it. Yes, our heart is into it, but it's also rational. So it's a deep awareness, a deep understanding. Practicing things is active. It's active. When we practice something, we practice it so that we develop a skill, right? You practice the piano, so you really learn that skill, and you do it over and over and over again. Because we don't really get good at something until we actually practice it and we do it over and over again. So when we're talking about practicing compassion from a spiritual perspective, then we're taking that knowing, that deep knowing, that intention for a higher purpose, opening our hearts, and then moving forward in a helpful way and making it our way of life for a higher purpose. So there's this old story, Buddhist story. There's the novice monk that asks the other monk, "What is compassion?" And so the monk walks the boy to the window, and they look outside of the window, and they see a beggar there. And they see then an old woman looking away from the beggar and throwing a coin at him. And then they see another merchant, very well dressed, that looks all around him and throws 5 gold coins into the pot. And then they see a young boy with a bouquet of flowers in his hand, and he takes one, and he looks the beggar in the eye, and he hands the flower. And so the monk says, "Okay, so who's showing the most compassion here?" And the young monk says, "Well, the guy with the 5 gold coins, he gave the most." And the monk said, "No, he looked all around. He wanted to see who was looking. He wanted attention and admiration. He didn't do that out of compassion." And he said, and the old lady, she didn't even look at him. She did it out of pity. Sometimes when we do things out of pity, it comes from a place of fear. That's not from the heart. That's not compassion. That little boy, he picked that bouquet out of love for his mother. He gave a piece of himself, a piece of his love to this beggar. That is compassion. So Mother Teresa says, we can't always do great things on this earth, but we can do small things with great love. So we can passively feel empathy and not do anything with it. We can express sympathy with words, and sometimes, though, our words can be sort of irritating because we don't know how to express that sympathy. But compassion is that skill. It's something that we choose to practice, but we got to actively do the work. That's the challenge with compassion, is actually doing the work. We've all heard that expression that actions speak louder than words. And we may have intention, and expressing compassion begins with intention, but just good intentions may not be enough. It's that higher intention with what we practice, showing up, being there. So the Dalai Lama says, if you want to be happy, practice compassion. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. So when I was 8 years old, my mother was diagnosed with schizophrenia. So I had the opportunity throughout my whole life to practice compassion in a quite a different way. I was her only child, and so I was basically responsible as people fell out of her life because of the schizophrenia, of keeping her housed, making sure she wasn't homeless. And thank goodness, newer and newer medications came on the scene, and she was able to actually lead a pretty good life. And though there was a time, though once she became older, I really needed to put her in assisted living. And as soon as I uttered the word schizophrenia, all doors closed, okay? They were afraid of a disruptive element. Okay, oftentimes people aren't aware that with the newer medications, sometimes you can't even tell that someone has a diagnosis of schizophrenia. There may still be some hallucinations or some voices going on in their heads, but they can be sort of controlled. But anyways, the doors were closed. I finally, after a lot of work, my mother lived out of state, so I was doing all of this out of state. After a lot of work, I found a place that would take her. So I flew into her town to take a look at this place, and I was like, oh, no, I can't. This isn't the right place. She was a vulnerable adult. She wouldn't be able to go walking. She was physically capable of walking and shopping and leading a life. I just couldn't do it. We just needed a place to make sure that she took her medications, et cetera, et cetera. But thank goodness this happened the week of 9/11. Does everyone remember where they were on 9/11? You know, it's kind of like, if you're my age, you know where you were when Kennedy was shot, okay? 9/11 had an impact on us. And if you had to describe one word that maybe the nation felt during 9/11, what might that be? Any idea? What were we feeling on 9/11? Disbelief, shock, yes, vulnerability. We suddenly realized that somebody could come down on us. New York City, my goodness, a tall tower. We felt vulnerable. And when we feel compassion, we can feel compassion once we experience vulnerability. So I was lucky that I happened to try to find an assisted living for a schizophrenic mother during the week of 9/11, because then that week, as I was frantically calling around trying to find a place, somebody said they would interview her, okay? Took her on the interview, and those two women from that assisted living took her. And it was a beautiful place near a college campus. She could walk and shop, and she could do whatever it is she wanted to do, and she'd be on her medications. And she lived there for a long time, and she was able to contribute. Since she loved to shop, and other people who were disabled weren't, she'd go around to what she called the old people, and she was just as old as they were, and ask what they would need, and she would go shopping for them, and she loved it. So she had a purpose. She lived a purposeful life, and it was all because those two women at that assisted living felt that vulnerability that we all did, and they acted with compassion. So there are these amazing seeds called compassion, but we need to grow them. We need to grow them. And once we do that and we plant them and we spread them, it becomes contagious. So why is something like practicing compassion a topic? Because we all know in our heads that this is something that we should strive for, and it's because we forget. We get busy with our lives, and we've got our old pain. And the first exercise that we do, I usually do to sort of help us get rid of what no longer serves us. But in Buddhism, they say that the root of all causes of being stuck are three things. Ignorance, okay? So kind of shoving aside things that we don't understand, poo-pooing what we don't understand, putting those things down, not having compassion for people that we don't understand. Anger, which is often based on fear. When we're fearful of things, sometimes we lash out in anger. And attachment. We are attached to who we want to be. We are attached to our physical things. We are attached to our jobs, so many things, and sometimes we just don't want to let them go. And sometimes, most of all, we are most attached to our time and our energy. And so we need to balance all of that together. So I'm going to invite everyone to stand up, and we're going to do our first exercise. And the first one, like I said, is to help us get rid of what no longer serves us. And if you're in a pew, I'd encourage you to kind of get out into the aisles so that you have some room here. And so I'm going to ask you, feet slightly apart, knees slightly bent. We're always taking care of our back. And I'm going to ask you to rub your hands, because mine are really cold. And in Qigong is about just moving energy, moving stuck energy, kind of like acupuncture, okay? Moving stuck energy. So that's what we're doing now. We're going to unstick what no longer serves us. And when we do these exercises, I hope you take away just one or two little things that maybe you might remember to do on a daily basis in your spiritual practice. Your practice. Okay, a deep breath. And let's tap our heads. Tap our heads lightly. Because this is where a lot of stuck energy happens, right? We got monkey mind. Just unleash that monkey mind. Just unleash it from whatever thoughts you're holding on to that get you stuck. Whatever's going on in your head that you just need to give up, at least for this hour. But just give it up, unstick it. Just release it. Those thoughts of busyness, those thoughts of whatever's going on, just release them. And don't forget to breathe. Breathe it out while you're releasing. Okay, then those fingers to your temples. This is something we do naturally, right? Fingers, massage those temples. Get rid of any stressors. Stress accumulates, oftentimes right here. And Gary, we're not going to have the music right now. We'll have it for the next time we stand. Thank you. Okay, releasing stressors from your mind. And the save movement, we're going to do the back of our neck, both sides of the spine, that's C7. Massage both areas. Stress accumulates here, sometimes goes down to your shoulders. Breathe into it. Let energy flow freely from your head down through your spine, letting go of any stressors. Now the same movement with one hand across the chest. Congestion. Physical congestion, if you have a cold, if you have a flu. and congestion of the heart if you've got a hurting heart. If you're breathing shallowly because of anxiety, just breathe through it. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. And with those arms, I'm going to ask you to slap from side to side. In Qigong, we try to balance things. The male and the female energy, the yin and the yang, we move from side to side. We go down the center, but we also balance both sides. And we're slapping our sides, our hips, our kidneys. So in our kidneys is where we also house fear, anger. Those kidneys also help release toxins that accumulate in the body. Can you tell I'm a nurse too? Okay. Just imagine getting rid of those toxins that are stuck. Making sure to breathe out. Now with those hands up above your head, and keep those wrists loose. Just shake. Just shake from your fingertips down your arms. You're opening up everything from your arms down to your toes, your circulation, your respiratory system, your nervous system. You're getting rid of what no longer serves you emotionally, physically. Just imagine it coming off of those hands, and you are just getting rid of it. Just give it to Mother Earth, okay? Mother Earth can handle it. Just let it go. Let it go. Think of what you want to get rid of. Let it go. Because once you let those things go, then you allow more to come in, more love to enter in. Okay, with that, take a deep breath. And slowly bring those hands down to your heart. Breathing into your heart. And giving compassion to yourself. Have a seat. So, you're with yourself every day. You may as well enjoy the company, right? So, self-compassion is one of those things that on the spiritual journey is probably one of the hardest things to do, okay? But when we do it, it elevates ourselves, and in other ways, it helps to elevate others. And one of the hardest things to do is to practice compassion for those unwanted parts of us. Because what do we want to naturally do? We want to look away from them. We want to ignore them. We want to suppress them. Okay? We don't want to identify with them. But those unwanted parts of us are really part of the human condition. In so many ways, we all have the similar unwanted parts, right? In so many ways. Self-compassion begins with that deep awareness, right? That deep awareness of ourselves. Taking responsibility for ourselves. Being able to sit with those painful thoughts. And the trick is, in a way so that we don't over-identify with them, and put ourselves into shame, but to take that rational part of our head and realize that what we don't want to look at is also part of that human condition, and we are not alone. And then we can repair and forgive ourselves and give ourselves compassion. So we can do many things to do that. One is go to psychotherapy for years, and particularly if you're working on a lot of deep stuff, that may be the answer. And it's simple to start with small things. Oh, I was really snarky with that person. And then, go deep into it. Why were you? And then give yourself compassion for doing that. But then there are those other things that maybe take time. They're things that we've done over time, habits that we want to get rid of, things that we've done deeply that we're not proud of. What do we do? Well, besides therapy, there are lots of exercises, and as you go on this spiritual journey, you will experience more and more of those. One of those things that people do is write a letter to themselves, okay? And it could be something like, I'm bewildered with how cruel I was. These are the things that I did, etc., etc., etc. And maybe with every sitting, you can go deeper and look at yourself even more. And then another part of that exercise might be writing a letter as a friend that has unconditional love for you, that can write a letter of deep understanding with love for you. I understand. You are not alone. You were fearful during that time when you are a unique individual, but your story is not. There are many people in this world like you that have felt this way and that have done something similar. And eventually, you can take all that and give yourself compassion, like understanding that inner child within you. So it doesn't release us of our responsibilities for our actions, but it gets us rid of that self-hatred that sometimes, we live with. And then we can live life with clarity and balance. And then we're able to reach out to others. And when we're not attached to that self-image or those things that we thought really mattered, then we can really, really grow exponentially. And we can demonstrate compassion in small ways. You can start out by paying it forward. Because, there's such a thing called compassion fatigue, and, you can't do everything all of the time for everybody, and sometimes when there's a total overwhelming amount of need, sometimes people's empathy might decrease when there's an overwhelming amount. So you got to pick and choose what you do, but you can start small, okay? And it's freeing, and when we understand that the world is round and that we're all connected in some way, we stop looking at the differences and we see the similarities in each other. We can really then reach out because you are not really much more different than I am. And this person isn't really that much different than the others. We look different, we've got different skills, et cetera, et cetera. And then we can reach out. And there are ways to do it in larger ways. And I come from a Puerto Rican background, and so I obviously have an eye on what goes on in Puerto Rico. And that poor little island, 3 million people, and it's only 100 miles wide, 30 miles deep, or whatever you want to call it. And they get hit by hurricanes, and they get hit by earthquakes. And here they are again. No power, no water, but they have a resilience. They have a culture of empathy. I'm not saying it's perfect. They've got an infrastructure that really still is torn apart and needs fixing. No culture is perfect. No community is perfect. But they have that culture of compassion. And you're usually not going to find a Puerto Rican, even during these disasters, that's going to be starving. Somebody's going to get out the propane tank and start cooking the rice and beans because they know where the poor live, they know where the old live, and they're going to reach out. And they are proud of their ability to reach out with compassion. And what that does is that allows everyone to know that they are not alone. So during this time of vulnerability, just like 9/11 when we felt it, they get blasted with it all the time. They've got lots of opportunities to feel compassion. But hopefully we don't always need to get blasted in that way. So that's why we have these spiritual messages. We can do this on our own with our practice. So before we get up for our next exercise, there's a Buddhist teaching and a chant, really. It's a chant that's going to be in the background of our next exercise, and you're barely going to even hear it at all. And it encompasses mercy and compassion, the concepts of mercy and compassion in Buddhism. And the words are Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Okay? You'll hear that in the background, and they emphasize Om, generosity, Ma, ethics, Ni, tolerance and patience, Padme, perseverance, Om, wisdom. So I encourage you all to stand up. And the last exercise we tried to get rid of what no longer serves us. This time, same stance, feet slightly apart, knees slightly bent. And this time, we're going to connect. We're going to connect with compassion and wisdom and connect ourselves with it. So we're going to start out with that happy Buddha pose. So palms up. And the happy Buddha has a little smile on his face too. And he's got that round little belly with that little happiness. And he's connecting to universal wisdom, the compassion of the universe, that conscious collective compassion. And don't forget to breathe and connect. And connect with that beautiful dome. We had compassion for that dome when it was struck by lightning in 1991. And look at how beautiful this community has helped it stay. It's beautiful. And beyond that is more beauty. Take those palms, point them to your head, and imagine compassion, wisdom, universal love shining on you. Connect yourself with it. Up through your feet to the top of your head, all of your body that you've just cleansed. You've made room for that love and compassion to enter. And take those hands, slowly move them down your body, very slowly, spreading light, love, universal wisdom, compassion throughout you. And remember, you're keeping those knees bent, and then you're going to slowly bend down. And as far as you can spread that through your body, and if you can make it down to your toes, that's great. If you can only wave to your toes, that is great too. But as far down as you can go, and if you can touch Mother Earth, connect with her too. Thank you, Mother Earth, for all you do for us. And slowly take those hands and put them behind you, and slowly run up the compassion, love, wisdom from Mother Earth all up your back. And when you get to your kidneys, bring those hands forward and open up your heart, pushing your chest out, opening your heart to the world. Because practicing compassion is intention of opening your heart, doing good, coming from a place of love. And breathe in love. Deeply breathe it in. And now we're going to connect the heavens and the earth with one palm up, facing the heavens, the other palm down, facing the earth. You're allowing yourself to be a conduit between the heavens and the earth, the universal love of the universe and beyond, through you to Mother Earth and all who grow from Mother Earth, all who eat the food from Mother Earth. And in balance, you're going to switch that. The other hand palm up, one hand palm down. Same thing, a conduit from Mother Earth through you up to the heavens, releasing love, compassion from your heart. And slowly bring both hands to your heart. And once again, feeding yourself with compassion. Okay, I encourage you to have a seat. So Mother Teresa said, if we have no peace, it's because we've forgotten we belong to each other. So this practice of compassion allows us to remember how alike we are, how much we actually do belong to each other. We eat the same food from Mother Earth. We get sunshine from the same sun. And so practicing compassion, kindness, and integrity mindfully helps keep us all connected. So doing it deeply is the key. It's not a quick fix. That's why we're talking about practicing compassion. Doing it over and over and over again, because we get better at it every day the more that we do it. And once we can shed those things that used to be important and bring on these other things that are really, really more important, which is with intentions of love opening our heart, then we've planted those seeds. And we shift then into the collective. So we move from ourselves, out of ourselves, into the collective. A conscious collective. A conscious collective that can move in harmony together. And yes, there's always going to be a couple of sides, right? So the world is not perfect. So there's going to be a side that's always going to be a challenge. So that collective consciousness isn't going to create perfection maybe on this earth. But it could be that collective consciousness can gain momentum. And so that collective consciousness of compassion can become greater and greater as we all become more aware. And it eventually can outnumber and does some of this other stuff that we don't like, but we learn from. And so it serves a purpose while we're on this earth. But we can still lean over to this side. And with this collective consciousness then, right, it can spiral. And it can spiral into a universal consciousness. And so I'm not a psychic. I haven't been captured by anybody and kind of had any sort of great revelation. But a fact that I do know is that we have really grown in terms of our longevity, right? We used to have a longevity of only 55 years, right? Now, longevity is 85 years. Yeah, when there's a pandemic, we slip a little bit, but then we always gain. And so in 10 years, longevity might be 90 years old, et cetera, et cetera. So our longevity increases. And why is that? Some might say that collective compassion, what have we done over the years? It used to be just about survival, okay? It used to just be about survival. But slowly and gradually, we as a collective consciousness have been able, through compassion, to grow ourselves. Out of compassion, we've grown medical technology. We have helped each other with mental illness. We have grown spiritually. You know, we embody and know about so many spiritual practices, whereas we used to sort of just be in our own little niches. And so we are evolving. It sometimes feels like we're over here, but we really have collectively evolved. And we can continue to do that through this practice. So we can expand the spiral and connect with this web of universal consciousness that we don't even know, that we don't really fully understand. But with that light, it seems that we can keep lifting ourselves. We just need to see it with the eye of our hearts. So with that, let's do our last exercise. And after this exercise, then we're going to go into meditation. So I encourage you to stand again. And same stance. Feet slightly apart, knees slightly bent. And stand strong. Take a deep breath, like you're a tree in a stream. You're strong. The water's flowing all around you, but you are strong and firm. You've gotten rid of what no longer serves you, and you have brought in love, compassion, the strength of the universe. And we're going to spread that through these Qigong movements. We're going to slowly raise our hands up. And twist to one side. Spreading love, receiving love. Other side. That intention, that positive intention that opens your heart. Slowly bring those hands down. And similar to that one movement where we opened our hearts, we're going to open and slightly close. Open, building the momentum. The momentum of that love radiating from your heart. And kind of like those old-fashioned bevels that sort of put air into a fireplace when you're trying to make that fire really, really spread. You're adding air to that fire. Think about that. That fire of compassion, of universal love. Whew. When you're breathing out, you're adding to it. That little candle from your heart radiating out in a big way. Now with your hands in front of you, going to put your hands in front of your belly, 3 inches the first hand from your belly and another 3 inches the second hand from that first hand. And we're going to spread one hand going up and the other hand going down. Remember Tai Chi, Qigong, it's about yin and yang. Spreading energy all around, that male and female energy and balance. So when we've been talking about practicing empathy, it's been that balance between your head and your heart. That balance of what you can do in increments to keep yourself aligned and to also help align all that you are in contact with. And don't forget to breathe. Couple more. And with your hands in front of you, I'm going to ask you then to move your hands where they're at your side, palms facing one direction. We're going to do just a titch of Tai Chi. You might want to put one foot slightly in front of you and move that energy from side to side. Cleansing that energy around you, but also imagine yourself spreading that intention of the heart all around you, all around you. Slowly all around you. You're also helping yourself. You've kind of today moved almost every muscle in your body, spreading compassion to every muscle of your body too. So hopefully every cell in your body can remember. And slowly then take the other foot, put it forward, and keep up with that motion, spreading it. And a couple more times. And we're going to come to a stop with our hands in front of us. We're going to take all of that good energy and love and surround it with our hands and love. And with that intention of conscious compassion, universal compassion and love, we're going to throw that ball into the universe. And bring our hands to our hearts. And let's have a seat for our meditation. And after the meditation, you'll hear the bells. And if you'd like to open your eyes after that, the words to the closing song will be on the screen. So, take a deep breath. Sit however makes you comfortable. Back straight. Deep breaths in your nose. And as it's going out your mouth, imagine that breath also spreading throughout your lungs. And from your lungs to your circulatory system. And as you're breathing, you're pumping air and light and love throughout your whole body. Circulating and filling you, filling that room that you have made so that you remember how connected we all are. And focus on that little candle in your heart, that light in your heart. And with your head, align your head with your ancestors, all who love you, all who have given you love. And the universe. And see the light from the top of your head and the light from the candle in your heart come to a V outside into the universe, shedding universal compassion from you and to you. And sit with that for a minute.
In this world, it's hard to tell the shadow from the light. What is real can find a way to hide behind the lies. Don't be fooled or ruled by voices all around you, 'cause your road will always be revealed. If you lead with your heart. It's the one thing you can trust, to always come from love, and it will shine right through the dark, like a northern star to show you what is true. You'll never lose if only you will lead with your heart. You have been the truest friend that anyone could have, and the love you always give, I want you to get back. You've been knocked down and found. Not everyone is what they show you. What is true will always be revealed. If you lead with your heart. It's the one thing you can trust, to always come from love, and it will shine right through the dark, like a northern star to show you what's true. You'll never lose if only you will lead with your heart. It takes the beautiful unknown and somehow makes you feel you're home again, finally home again. And there's no longer any doubt what the mystery's about for you, or what you should do. Lead with your heart. It's the one thing you can trust, to always come from love. Lead with your heart. It's the one thing you can trust, to always come from love, and it will shine right through the dark, like a northern star to show you what is true. You'll never lose if only you will lead with your
Oh, Mother, Father, God, Spirit, ancestors, all who love us, thank you so much for these experiences on this earth. Thank you for being able to connect with each other in so many different ways. And as we walk out of here today, let us remember to treat ourselves and everyone we come in contact with love and compassion. Thank you. Thank you.